exactly a month ago that the Prime Minister Modi announced the government's decision to abolish 500 and 1,000 rupee notes with effect from midnight, thereby putting a freeze on 86% of Indian currency overnight. This was currency in circulation. Now, the move saw Indians frantically lining up outside bank branches to deposit their old notes. Serpentine queues outside bank ATMs has become a common sight. Over the past month, the government has taken a number of steps to try and ease the impact of the note ban. ATM withdrawal limit, which was initially set at 2,000 rupees a day, has been revised to 2,500 rupees a day. Over the cash withdrawal limits now stand at 24,000 rupees a week. Not just that, ATM machines were recalibrated to dispense the new 500 and 2,000 rupee notes. But from what we've gathered so far, 95% of the ATMs have been recalibrated, but and this is the big one, only 30% of the ATMs currently being loaded with cash daily. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, in multiple tweets, thanking the people of India for participating in this yagya, as he calls it, against corruption, terrorism and black money. Well, that was the stated objective of the government's notification on the 8th of November. War against black money, a war against terror financing. But over the past month, the discourse has now changed. It's shifted to digital India and a cashless economy, Kritika.
And that's really one of the key reasons behind the government's demonetization drive, as you said, Shireen, and which has changed to push plastic money and online transactions, and perhaps in a big way. Today, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley announced incentives for this, and these are the key benefits you can avail now. Number one, fuel would be available at about 0.75% discount at gas stations of payments if payments are made digitally. Number two, toll plazas on national highways will give you a 10% discount if the payment is cashless. Good news for railway passengers as well. One can avail a 5% discount on railway services like catering, retiring room on payment by digital mode specifically. Furthermore, all railway passengers who buy tickets online will get a free accident insurance cover worth 10 lakh rupees if it's made digitally. And lastly, insurance bought online from customer portal of public sector companies will get 8% discount for life and about 10% for general insurance. These were all the measures and discounts and freebies in a way announced by Arun Jaitley. Here's what he had to say today.
जो डिजिटल मोड से पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स ऑयल और पेट्रोल और डीजल खरीदेगा उसको 0.75% का डिस्काउंट मिलेगा. Those who buy tickets online will get a free accident claim insurance of 10 lakh rupees only if they pay by the digital mode. So all other facilities like accommodation, catering and retiring room, which railways charges for, if payment is made by the digital mode, the facility will be 5% cheaper. If you buy your policy and from the customer portal and pay by the digital mode directly and not by cash, the policy will be, the premium will be 10% less in the case of general insurance and 8% in the case of life insurance.
Well, that's the package that's been announced to promote a digital and cashless economy. To discuss the government's incentives for digital payments, we're now joined by a panel of experts from the digital payment sector. Govind Rajan, the CEO and Chairman of FreeCharge, Bipin Singh of MobiKwik, and Naveen Surya, the Chairman of the Payment Council of India and also the Managing Director of It's Cash. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the show. If I could start by asking you, Mr. Rajan, at FreeCharge, I understand that, you've seen an increase in your app downloads by almost 300%, 5 times higher in the past 1 month. What do you make of the announcements that have come in from the government today? And, I was just talking to leaders from the opposition party, Sitaram Yechuri, Derek O'Brien. They seem to believe that the government is trying to change the narrative once again by announcing this digital incentive package because there is clearly no cash on the ground at this point in time. Your first comments on what's been announced today?
I think it's a very positive move. We've always wanted, to get consumers to move from the habit of using cash to the habit of using digital payment. It's good for the country in many different ways. Every payment has a trail. There are tax benefits, but there are enormous benefits to the economy as we go from being a largely cash economy to a cashless economy. I think any step in that direction is great, but what the government has announced today are vital measures, because all of these payments that are being done are daily payments. These are payments which are applicable to most consumers in India, and all of these payments are done on a monthly basis or at very high frequency. So giving all of these payments a positive boost and giving the cashless practice or the cashless habit a leg over cash is very good for all kinds of reasons economically, because cashless India is always better than the hidden cost of cash. And obviously, black money is a big issue in the country, and I see this as really a big step forward.
Well, it is certainly a big step forward, especially for companies like yours. But Bipin Singh, let me ask you in terms of your experience and what you've seen over the past 1 month at your company, at MobiKwik, the kind of app downloads that you've seen. And what about the response from outside of the metros? What about tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns? What is the response that you're seeing there?
Shireen, so the point that I would like to make is that, of course, we have seen, 250% increase in app downloads, 10 times increase in people adding money to our wallet, and, people transferring money to each other through MobiKwik e-wallet. That has grown by 10 times. But what we must understand is where we have been a country as in terms of electronic payment users, is that we have 600 million people who have had bank accounts, or now it's even more, and 300 million smartphones. But the number of people who have been using electronic payments or digital payments and have good quality internet connection and good quality phones, that has been limited to 70 million. It never became a mass phenomenon. It has never become a mass phenomenon. So one, the situation is today such that there is not enough cash using which you can transact, so that is impacting just the demand side of the economy, which means that people are not spending, businesses are suffering. And the second side is that you need to get the remaining 200, 300, 400 million people, which form the bulk of the middle segment of the economy, to start going digital, because they are the ones who will now take India next to the digital age in terms of also going cashless. And
so what will it take, Bipin? I thank you for bringing in a reality check into this discourse. What will it take for India to sort of leapfrog to becoming a cashless economy? Even the United States today is not a cashless economy. What are we talking about? I mean, we've seen this package being announced today, and clearly there are constraints that will perhaps push people to move digital, not just the incentives. What are we talking about when we say India should now move to becoming a cashless economy? What's the kind of time period that you would envisage?
So I think, nothing can happen in the next few days or next few weeks even. But, I think as a country, if a critical mass of the country moves towards digital payments over the next 6 to 12 months, I think we would have made, the government and the country would have made a permanent transition into a cashless economy. So what we have to understand is India being a large country, 1.2 billion people, the top 60-70 million are those who have been spending money using electronic means. It is the middle 400-500 million, which we call as the mass middle class. They need to start transitioning to digital India, and a combination of the constraints that were already there and these incentives would go a long way in getting this mass population into the digital economy, which would be a permanent change, because these are those people who have never ever transacted electronically. For them to do their first transaction, and if let's say 100 million, 200 million people do it, that would be a massive shift, structural shift in the entire economy.
Naveen, let me ask you this. Do you believe, as Bipin is pointing out, this mass middle class that he hopes will be able to transition post the constraints and the incentives? I mean, realistically, what are we talking about? The time period to move this, and do you believe that this is enough, or what more needs to be done? Because from an infrastructure perspective, we continue to be hamstrung.
So, Shireen, I think, first of all, it's 10 years we've been focusing only on the 70% middle class, who's really actually earning and spending in physical cash. And that's how you had a 90% plus cash. And of that 90%, let's not forget, more than 70% is spent by the 70% population. So if you see the series of things, I see this as a design. This is not a random activities that are being done by government. I personally, and at the association, we've been continuously saying cashless is the way to go. And I agree with you that even developed countries are not completely cashless, but they are fairly less cash economies, at least 50 to 60%. In BRIC countries, we were the only country which is at 10%. Everybody else is between 30 and 50 already. So I see a design that before last month 8th, you had 90% cash. Everybody was so comfortable using cash. And you felt like that if you have physical cash, you have no problem, except in some digital world, in some specific issues, you might face issues. So post-demonetization, first message went out very clearly that cash is not welcome. And I've been personally saying that if you have to move India digital, your money has to be digital. I personally went to a length saying that money is like a disease. A physical cash is like a disease. We have to eradicate it like polio, like we did a campaign across the years, across segments, across the stakeholders. We have to do the same thing. So step one, cash goes out of the system. Secondly, before 8th, every transaction you did in physical cash versus digital, especially day-to-day, petrol, train tickets, utility bill payments, they were expensive than cash. This move is again saying that while you guys are trying digital cash, if you see it is expensive than cash, that's pinching you, we're removing it. So now suddenly, the table is also turning for these common men, and they are used to doing these transactions. And companies like us focus on these consumers that pay your train ticket bill, you are actually paying less. Pay your petrol bill for your two-wheelers. You used to pay surcharge, not people like you and me were paying surcharge. We were getting actually exempted from that. They were paying surcharge. So this getting removed, they know that, okay, now it's no longer there. And I'm sure very soon you'll have the same situation for utility bills and few more categories, which are part of their daily budget. So I personally see it as a very clearly identified step, one by one, to displacing physical cash and bringing in a digital transaction in a very systematic way. And at the same time, giving a consumer choice. If you see, the message is very clear. It's about all digital payments. And companies like us have always advocated about multi-form factor, omni-channel. There are situations that we have seen strange. For an example, now, suddenly trucking companies are calling their drivers every month they used to reimburse $200,000 a month. Now they're suddenly asking us and our bank partner, can we give them a prepaid card, which they can use to fill petrol, to do their maintenance, to pay for their dhabas. Foreigners coming into India, money-changing companies, same thing.
Got your point, Naveen. Let me go back to Rajan. And Rajan, I want to pick up on that point that Naveen was making about there being a level playing field. I mean, let's be clear. The government is also, in a sense, a party, a player in this space. But do you believe that it is a level playing field?
No, it's never been a level playing field for electronic payments. Cash has always been structurally and in many other ways advantaged vis-a-vis digital payments. I mean, take the case of what the government announced today in terms of fuel. I mean, if you paid electronically in a fuel pump a few months ago, you were actually paying a surcharge, like Naveen pointed out. And the thing about a digital payment is a digital payment is always more secure. In a digital payment, you can always trace it back in case there's a problem. You can reverse the transaction. In a digital, you don't need to carry you don't have the physical form factor problem of security of carrying money. And and if you're not carrying money, then it's far more secure. People can't sort of misrepresent your identity. So digital payment, technically, from a consumer experience, is a far better experience than cash. But India has always been in a situation where cash has had the advantage over digital payment for all reasons, which, if you ask me, I would say are pernicious incentives.
Does it stand equalized today? Is it better? Are we incentivized enough today, Bipin?
So I think this is the first step. And this may not be the last step. As you correctly pointed out, if you want to promote digital payments, if as a government you want to promote digital payments, you should begin charity at home, which is what the government has done. Everything which is under their control, part of it. Most of the oil marketing companies come under the government. So we have already started working with them to get all kind of MobiKwik wallet acceptance across the length and breadth of the country. All the toll plazas, they come under the National Highways Authority of India, where they are now giving an incentive. They are giving incentive on oil and fuel. They are giving incentive on Indian Railways, which is IRCTC, where MobiKwik is one of the largest wallets. So this is clearly government saying that, look, we were not open for business for digital payments. We had obstacles which were put in terms
Okay.
of business development as well as in terms of user adoption. Now these obstacles are no longer there. In fact, we are incentivizing these transactions. So this is actually more than equalization. This is in the short term.
Okay.
This is a big incentive for transition.
All right, gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18 with your take on what the package for the promotion of digital and cashless economy mean. Govindrajan, Bipin Singh and Naveen Surya, appreciate your time.